western Nebraska. And so that's Jim, and I live in the same, we live in the same area. Jim is in Denver, I'm in Boulder. If I could ask you all, I'm just going by this thing, please rename yourself, put your name and then your district in that order. And at this point, there's only a handful of people on this. Mark is probably in the bathroom at some point. That's why we can't see him. So once you've done that, so Jim, why don't we start with one word to describe yourself, and we can start with you, Jim.
Okay, one other thing that, John, I think it was important that somebody be the recorder, somebody
right.
to write up the notes. So Deborah, could you do that? Is it Deborah? Deidre.
Deirdre.
Deirdre,
All right. I guess I can, but I can't do it simultaneously. I can type notes and send them, but I can't do simultaneously.
Okay, sounds good. So one word to describe myself is curious. And I'm 5450.
And so, Deidre, since you're the second one on my picture here, how about one word to describe you?
Enthusiastic.
All right. And Lisa, since you're on here, how about a word to describe you as well?
I am gregarious.
Gregarious.
It's my favorite word.
And Mark, are you there?
I am here. I'm going to say portly.
Oh.
Oh, that's good. And I would describe myself as passionate. Not about everything, but about this program. That's what I'm passionate about. So the next question is give a short response to the topic, and what they mean by short is, about a minute or so. The topic question is who has a successful middle school RYLA program. And with that, I'm going to exit out of this screen because I have read the whole thing. All right. So now we're back to all of us.
So I didn't even know that this program existed at the middle school level. We have a very robust program at the high school level. So I'm curious as to how it all would work.
And anybody else? Lisa? You can unmute Lisa.
Unmute me. I keep forgetting to unmute myself. But you're lucky that I'm muted. Or at least my husband might think so.
No.
I'm kidding. No, I also did not know about the middle school programs. I'm very excited to learn more from you guys about it.
And Mark?
Yeah, I don't have any experience. I'm hoping to gain some insights and some wisdom from you folks who have done this. And I'm in District 5300. Sorry, I don't know how to rename myself, but I'll just tell you that.
Well, I think we're good. Yeah, Jim was the reason that most people, and I would say 90% of the people on the big Zoom call have never heard of this thing, is there are, how many, Jim? Maybe 3 of these?
I think there are 3. One started out in Canada. We started the second one, and I believe there's one in Arizona. It's either in Arizona or New Mexico is the only one. I've done some research trying to find them, and I was excited to see that there were people who maybe have started a middle school RYLA to learn from you guys. But I guess my first question is, why are you interested in running a middle school program?
Because it's never too early to start encouraging students to learn and to lead and to, you know, actively participate. And what club are you with, or what area are you with, Jim?
I'm in the Denver area. It's District 5450. And one of the things that we probably would be good to do is go to the chat box and put in your name, your district, your email, and any website that you have for your RYLA programs. And we will do the same.
I just changed my district. I used to be part of 5240. I get these numbers all mixed up, which is Southern California, Ventura County area. But I'm not now. I'm in the same district as Jim, 5450. And the RMRYLA is Rocky Mountain RYLA. That's our parent organization. And if you can see my shirt, it says YRYLA. That's Young RYLA. That's what we call these programs here.
Going to that website, you can find out about both our senior high school RYLA and our young RYLA. You can click on that and check that out.
And that's it behind me, pre-COVID.
Yeah. I know that this was part of the reason for this being on this Zoom call is that one of our junior counselors went to the University of California, Davis, and in Sacramento, and she was trying to get a middle school RYLA started in that area. So maybe we could, John, maybe we can go to the questions that we started out with. And one of the great thing is what do you see the difference between a middle school kid and a high school kid?
I guess this would be directed at Deidre, Lisa, and Mark.
For us, part of it is kind of a lack of understanding of what service above self really means, and that there doesn't need to be a reward, a tangible reward for everything that you do. And I think that's because of the age that they are, but they're always looking for the extra. And we worked on that quite a bit last year.
I think middle schoolers are just entering into the phase of finding their identity. And by the time they get to high school, they're in that formation. I mean, they haven't totally formed it, but because they're in that formation, they haven't developed enough empowerment to, and they're, you know, like they're still at that stage where they're starting to think about empowerment, thinking about that. And without empowerment, it's difficult for them to find the motivation outside themselves. But I think they can do it. And I think, you know, one of the things is how you approach them.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, I'm wondering if it's not just introducing them to the concept and just starting to get them to think about things in these kinds of terms.
They're very experiential, and they're experimenting with who they are.
Right.
That's great.
Right, and why not make who they are part of a service mentality? So it's really an ideal time to introduce the ideas of something beyond yourself.
I think it's really interesting you all are bringing up the idea of service, right? In this whole context of leadership. Have you found that experience with RYLA? And what are kind of the outcomes you expect in the RYLA, which would all help define the difference between the two ages? I'm making my question clear.
So Mark, what do you think?
I'm not sure that I'm clear on the question. Give me some help with that.
Well, I heard in this is the need to be, they haven't really thought about service. Is that correct? And how that is part of their lives. So it just, I find it interesting to hear that as being the challenge, I guess.
Well, I guess again, I don't have practical experience to bring to this. My thought is this is kind of their transition from going from children who have all of their needs met to sort of coming into their own and starting to spread their wings and figure out the influence they have on the world around them. And for me, I think even though I feel like they may not grasp all of this, they are what you've said. They're experimenting. They're kind of figuring out who they want to be. What a great time to introduce them to the concept of service, so that they do start thinking about things in terms of that, even if they don't quite get it all yet. I feel like this is just a great. There's no better time. You wait too long, and I think the challenge is much bigger. I don't know any earlier, and they're really going to quite understand it. But I just feel like this is a great time to do that.
So Mark, do you have experience with the RYLA program?
No. So that's why I'm here to learn. So we can start doing that in our club.
So Mark, let me ask you a quick question. What do you want them to gain? I understand you want them to be in service, but what do you want them to look like when they're done with RYLA?
I think I don't know, but I would think it would be something along the lines of supporting them on their journey. And again, I feel like at this particular stage and journey, that sort of middle school area, there's just so many changes going on that if we can support them in gaining self-confidence and belief in themselves, in looking at the world around them and broadening their horizon, so it's not just about themselves, looking at the influence they have on people around them, that's a huge start. And I think that sets the seeds then as they develop into adults to really espouse the values of Rotary in them.
Excellent.
Yeah, I was going to say you kind of hit the nail on the head on the subjects that we are working on. So couldn't have said any better.
So with this program, how long is it, and how many people get to go, and the format? I don't really know what it would look like at this level.
Great question. One of the things that we've done is, since we have a young RYLA and RYLA, all the clubs, which is over 100 clubs, can select the paid kids to go to RYLA or young RYLA. And we are maxed out at young RYLA with the place that we ran it. We may be able to increase it. We would like to increase it, John, how many kids do we get? 100, have been getting 120 in 2 different sessions?
Yeah, actually 144 twice.
Oh, that's true. 144 in 2
Easy.
separate weeks. And they're there from Sunday at noon till Friday at noon.
Oh, wow. That's a lot longer than our RYLA.
When we started out running the young RYLA at 4 days rather than 5 days, counting those 2 half days. And the kids found out that the RYLA program had an extra day and they felt cheated. So we increased it.
Yeah, they don't want to go home at the end of the week.
No, they don't.
They do not want to come home.
And we would be more than glad to share our manual with anybody. All you have to do is ask us, and we will send you an electronic copy of what we do. Yeah. With middle school kids, we found that the less seat time they get, the better. So it's not about teaching them about leadership. It's more about giving them the chance to experiment with it. But we do still have too much seat time.
Yeah, Jim, how long does I should also say Jim is one of the founders, one of the co-founders of the Young RYLA program in our district. And that was what, 18 years ago, Jim?
Well, we started meeting to plan it in the year 2000. So we're about 20 years old.
About 20
Wow.
years old. Yeah. Our RYLA program has been going 30 plus years, right?
Correct.
So, and our two sessions, we're lucky right next to the Rocky Mountains. So we have them at Estes Park, at the YMCA camp. And we've had them at another conference center down by Colorado Springs, and that's being changed because COVID issues. And we're now going to be doing it at the other YMCA camp in the Rocky Mountains. We have the ability to expand. We actually at the Young RYLA program, we have twice as many kids apply than we can fit in. So we have a huge demand for this, and we'd like to expand it. We have a lot of challenges coming up. Certainly, some of the things have been in the news about diversity is a huge challenge for us. I think one of the things that if I could speech a bit, we have looked at who do we accept at these things, who applies, and my feelings is that we have relied on, well, it's counselors at the schools, the junior highs, the middle schools, give the kids to us, and then every club interviews them. And I think that in the past we have said, okay, what are the requirements for coming here? And I think that if you look at what would you, so this is a question for you three, what would you consider a requirement to come to Young RYLA? Who would you choose and why? So we get them to fill in that blank, we get them from the schools. They give us a list of, say, 10 kids from my area, Boulder County, and then we interview them. And what criteria are we looking for? I'm bringing this up because it's very problematic when you start thinking about it, right? Are we looking for grades, right? Are we looking for really good essays? Are we looking for clarity of understanding what they're getting into? What are you looking for?
Why would you not look for interest or excitement? As a, I mean, and I don't know how you'd measure that, but that if you can discern some kind of engagement or excitement, or, you know, so engage their interest or somehow measure that through a series of reflective questioning, then because interest is going to be probably the biggest motivator. You know, if they're motivated to accomplish something or to be a giving person, then they're probably going to be more engaged.
So do you provide the school with these categories or things that they should consider before selecting the 10 students? And secondly, I really like it when we reach out to somebody who may not be the most obvious candidate, but could certainly benefit.
So we've left it up to clubs to decide who they send. So we don't necessarily want kids who are about ready to become the senior class president or whatever.
Right.
But as John has talked many times, we have leaders everywhere. We need leaders who become teachers, who become firemen, who are going to the coffee shop and having conversations with people. There's so many different ways to look at leadership.
Yeah, I think by thinking we want the next president of the United States is a limiting thing, right? Because, well, according to what's going on, anybody could be president. But we want the leadership that's so important in our world right now is just the everyday leadership, right? It's what the kids in a group are doing. So I bring this whole thing up because it's a discussion that's difficult and fraught. But it is something that's very exciting. If you consider the amount of kids that that want to go this program, but the opportunities for kids that we haven't really been out there and bringing in, right? That's and how to get that. It's not going to necessarily be easy, right? But as Lisa said, I think, you know, who is excited about this? But how do they become excited about this?
I don't know about it.
Wait, don't you have for diversity, you've got 2 layers of problems. You have the people who are recommending you, so then that's your first layer, and your second layer are yourselves. And how do you disconnect your own internal biases that you may, even unconscious biases that you may not realize you have, and how do they disconnect or try to work with their unconscious biases so that you are getting a more diverse group?
You're good, Lisa.
I'm a cultural trainer. What can I tell you?
Yeah, and then I go for practical stuff too, right? We have 100 plus RYLA representatives, one for every club, some case 2, so it might be as many as 200 RYLA representatives. They kind of look like me, right? And then you have counselors at the schools who are also pulling these kids out and saying, this is who I want. So that you can see the who we're picking or who we're encouraging to go to needs to be, there's some education needs to go on.
We generally, like you're talking about, Lisa, we generally look to recommend people that kind of look like us. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we are missing some of the kids that, and I think it was you that said something about like, who are we overlooking?
Yes.
I just got off of one of these sessions, and they were talking about doing a Zoom call. Well, we're talking about doing a Zoom to train the reps to who would they recruit? and how would they recruit? So we're talking about doing something like this to train the people who are sending kids.
I think I might have to call up Martin to help us out on that one.
Yeah, no kidding. It seems like that.
Can I ask, I'm supposed to facilitate the last session, or Lisa, are we started, or am I joining
Actually,
a?
we started late here, so we're just bleeding over.
Okay,
So we'll just wrap up and then, if that's okay.
okay.
So Lisa, what is your session? What's the title of it?
Oh, I have to look at the cheat sheet.
The next session,
Yeah.
Yes.
it's RYLA staffing.
All right.
How do you recruit, hire, and train RYLA staffers?
Very good. We're working on that same thing with our middle school RYLA program.
You know, if I could just say a couple things right at the end of our middle school program. If you have any questions about how this runs, we have videos and the whole bit. And we'd love to share it because we're very passionate about our program. You can email Jim or myself. I will type in my email address, and Jim can type in his to everybody if you want to know more.
And Jim, if you'll just make Mary the hosts for Lisa